You know, it was only a couple generations ago that one middle-class wage earner in the family could basically take care of the family. Usually it was the man, and he would go to work, and he had his wife and kids, and he'd work maybe in a factory, and he'd be a union-supported job, and he would make enough to provide for his family. Maybe even get his kids enough money so they could go to college. Well, those days, I don't have to tell you, are gone. Now you have two wage earners in the family, and they're not doing as well as the one wage earner did 2 generations ago. Now, there are lots of reasons for this. One of the main reasons is that corporations are outsourcing jobs. We certainly know about that, and I certainly want to make it federal policy so that we use tax incentives to encourage corporations to stay here rather than move abroad. But it's broader than that. The minimum wage is way lower than it used to be. If we were to raise the minimum wage up to $10.10, that would actually just be the same level it was after inflation in the 1960s. It needs to go up. It needs to go up much more. People who work hard, who work 40 hours a week, should not be living in poverty. It's not like there's not enough wealth to go around. 1% of all the people in the United States of America own 1/3 of the nation's wealth. 10% own 2/3 of the nation's wealth. I'm not begrudging them their money, but I'm saying that every American needs an equal opportunity to succeed. And I'll tell you one more thing. Giving middle-class and working-class people enough money to succeed actually helps the national economy. Henry Ford, who was bad on a whole bunch of things, but one thing he was absolutely right about was he paid his workers enough to buy his Model T cars, because he knew that if he didn't pay them enough, no one could afford to buy their cars. I say the same thing to big CEOs today. If we increase CEO wages $100 million, that doesn't build another car. That doesn't make another product, because no one's going to build a new factory to make products that nobody needs. You give a billionaire $100 million and he puts it in his checkbook. Maybe he invests it in the stock market, but it doesn't help the economy. Take that same $100 million, for example, and give $10,000 each to 10,000 middle-class families, and oh boy, now they can afford that second car. Now they can afford that extra vacation. Now they can afford more toys for their kids at Christmas. And all of that means that factories have to produce those cars, produce those toys. More people get hired to go on vacations. Ordinary people are the engines of the economy. And if we let them spend, then we're going to have to hire more people to work in our factories, and then they can spend more too, and it multiplies all across the economy. So when all the wealth is concentrated at the top, it's not just unfair to the middle class, it actually harms the nation's economy.